All right, hey guys, welcome back to the Shades of Brown podcast. This is episode number 3 with me, Akash.
Me, Roble.
And me, Akash. Our three segments for today are going to be our top 10 PPR wide receivers. Then after that, we're going to go into debate about that. We're going to do our reactions to the Week 1 NFL games. And then after that, we're going to do our starts and sits for Week 2. I'll start with my list. I'll start with my honorable mentions. My honorable mentions go Mike Williams, Cooper Kupp, Terry McLaurin, Allen Robinson, Justin Jefferson, and A.J. Brown. At 10, I have Deontay Johnson. At 9, I have CeeDee Lamb. At 8, I have Keenan Allen. At 7, I have Amari Cooper. At 6, I have DK Metcalf. At 5, I have Stephon Diggs. At 4, I have Calvin Ridley. At 3, I have DeAndre Hopkins. At 2, I have Tyreek Hill. And at 1, I have Devontae Adams.
All right, hey, everybody, go for it.
All right. So my honorable mentions are: I only have 3: CeeDee Lamb, Allen Robinson, and Terry McLaurin. 10, I have A.J. Brown. 9, I have Justin Jefferson. 8, Keenan Allen. 7, Amari Cooper. 6, DK Metcalf. 5, Calvin Ridley. 4, DeAndre Hopkins. 3, Stephon Diggs. 2, Tay Adams, and 1, Tyreek Hill.
All right, yeah, my list is more in line with Robles a little bit. So my honorable mentions, I've got Adam Thielen, got Amari Cooper in there. I've got Deontay Johnson. Those are my main three. I mean, you can obviously there's a lot more in there. Terry McLaurin, baller, love him. So my top 10. At 10, I have A.J. Brown. 9, I have Cooper Kupp. 8, I have Justin Jefferson. 7, I have DK Metcalf. 6, I have Calvin Ridley. 5, I have Keenan Allen. At 4, I have Stephon Diggs. At 3, I have DeAndre Hopkins. 2, I have Devontae Adams. And at number 1, I have Tyreek Hill. So Manoj, you got a little smile going on here. What's up?
Dude, I'm going to have to... Okay, so
Wait,
I
what's
can...
your 10 to 5 again?
So
My 10 to 5. So my 10 to 5 is I'll go from 5 to 10. Why not? Ridley or 6 to 10 is Ridley, DK, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, AJ Brown.
I can't see.
And I got Keenan Allen
I
at
can't
5.
see Ridley at 6, man. Ridley
Dude, I don't
outside
know.
of the
I don't
top
see.
5.
I have him outside. I think Ridley's great. I actually think he's going to be really really good. But I feel like those 5 above him,
Who'd
especially
you have
Keenan
above
Allen. I
him
think
again?
Keenan
Who'd you
Allen.
have?
I had the
Keenan
top
Allen.
4: Tyreek, Adams, Hopkins, Diggs. I feel like those 4.
Yeah.
I
You can make an argument.
I can see the top 3 over him. I can maybe see Diggs over him. Who do you have at 5?
Keenan Allen. Bro, I'm telling you, Justin Jeff. This is the sophomore jump of Justin Herbert.
I understand that, but then you also have to factor in the fact that Austin Eckler's back, right? He's not going to see he had, I think it was 13 targets week 1, which is really really good. But I don't think it's going to be like last year where he's having those games with 19, 20 targets. That's not going to really happen with Eckler going to be more involved in the passing game. Mike Williams breaking out as we saw with 12 targets in week 1. I just can't see Keenan Allen being in that top 5 this year. I still think he's going to be good. I think that entire Chargers offense will be good because of Herbert. I just can't see Keenan Allen being above Calvin Ridley, who's the bona fide receiver 1 on his team. No competition for targets. Just going to have insane amounts of yards, insane amounts of receptions. The deep targets are there. Everything is there for Ridley to break out this year. And we're going to see that this week against the Buccaneers, I think, against that weak secondary that got exposed by the Cowboys. 100%. I think Ridley is top 4, and I think that's what you got to... I can't see him at 6.
I don't know. I'm just. I think. I mean, Keenan Allen. I'm saying that Justin Herbert. You've seen it already last year. He had games where that was just his guy. Like if it all's crumbling down as a rookie, that was the guy he goes to is Keenan Allen. There's no Hunter Henry in the offense anymore. There's no star tight end to take a target away, especially some of the easy targets that Keenan Allen might feast on. Because I mean, this week he's only averaging 9 yards a catch, and 10 receptions, 90 yards, like nothing special. But the main thing obviously is PPR or top 10, and if he's going to get those receptions, I think Keenan Allen's going to be really solid. And we saw Calvin Ridley had a okay week. Obviously, this week is a little different. Falcons were just bad, nothing to it. But like, I don't know. I feel like at least maybe Ridley will have the better week. Like if you go through like the highs and lows, I think Ridley's gonna have the highest highs and the lowest lows. But in general, I think Keenan Allen's gonna be better.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right, Roble, I think you have something to say, so go ahead.
No, I just want to further my stance on Calvin Ridley. I think, look, Calvin Ridley's going to be, I think, potentially a top four fantasy wide receiver this year.
Hmm.
His stance at five is undisputed, especially when you factor in that um, he caught 90 of 143 targets last year, 1,300 receiving yards, and 9 touchdowns. And most of that was done as the wide receiver two to Julio. And in those games when he was the wide receiver one without Julio Jones, he was the undisputed top three fantasy wide receiver last year. When you look at his stats, competition, and he's in a pretty pass happy offense, I think just everything's lining up for him to be a breakout this year. First game was a little underwhelming, but Calvin Ridley's going to be a monster this year. But Keenan Allen, I do have in my top 10, but I just don't think you can place him above Calvin Ridley and DK Metcalf also.
Yeah, 100%.
Um,
I'm gonna agree with that. I have Keenan Allen at 8 on my list. I have Amari Cooper over him. I think Amari Cooper is literally the exact same as Keenan Allen. A great route runner, target hog, but in my opinion, he's in an offense that's gonna be where he's gonna get more targets because his running back isn't that much of a threat in the receiving game. So I like Keenan Allen. I like Keenan Allen a lot. I think if he was healthy last year, he would have finished as a top 5 receiver. I just don't think with Eckler being healthy, and if Eckler stays healthy, I can't see Keenan Allen going to 8. Um
Akash, can you elaborate on Cooper not being in your top 10?
Cooper not being in my top 10. I think it's gonna come down to too many too many weapons in that offense. To be honest, I think it's gonna come down to CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Zeke Elliott, all being in this one compact offense that I think if they shut down for a week, it's not going to be good. And obviously, this week was massive for Amari Cooper, but who felt the brunt of it? Zeke Elliott with only like 5.9. And so I think it's going to be a very one-sided offense that most weeks. It's going to be like either the wide receiver is CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, they just go ham. It's those two versus the world, or it's just going to be Zeke Elliott on his own
oh,
running the offense. Like I know he can do because he's a baller.
I can't
I disagree with that.
yeah, I think I agree with Roble here. I just can't see that. If you look at last year, especially, I think the point that you made about Zeke being bad last week, I don't think that was. I think Zeke was involved in the game plan, whether it be blocking and stuff like that. And I think that was mainly because of how good the Bucks front seven is. I don't necessarily think that's because they didn't want Zeke to touch the ball. I think if even if Zeke got those carries, Amari Cooper still would have had insane amounts of production just due to the fact that he had 16 targets.
I mean,
16
yeah, but
tar
also, I mean, this is a week where the game script was against them the whole time. I mean, they were losing pretty much the entire game up until the end, and
That's true,
that,
but
and
like
that's
the thing is
that
that
game
and
script would
that's
be
gonna
good
that
for Amari Cooper.
that's
If
what.
yeah,
they're
But what I'm saying
down,
is,
then they're gonna
I
pass the
don't think
ball.
that's a Cowboys team that's. I think that Cowboys team is ultra talented. I think that team is not going to be a team that's losing most weeks. They played the defending Super
yeah.
Bowl champions with the best player of all time at quarterback. Like I don't think they're going to have weeks where they're suffering like that throughout the whole game, getting beat like that. So these Amari Cooper pop off games are going
It,
to be far and far between, and Zeke Elliott down games are going to be again like
I see,
far between.
but the thing is that you're forgetting the fact that the reason they were stuck like that is not only because the Bucks were a really good offense, it's mostly because the fact their defense sucked that bad. And now that DeMarcus Lawrence broke his foot in practice today,
Yeah,
that's their best defensive player, one of the premier pass rushers in the NFL. And now that he's
right.
out, they really have Trayvon Diggs, Leighton Vander Esch, and they have Micah Parsons. They don't have much else on their defense. And now they won't be able to stop the run. They won't be able to stop the pass. And realistically, they're going to be giving up points, and they're going to be giving up points quick. They're going to be passing the ball a lot. We will see multiple games with Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb seeing multiple games with 10 plus targets, and I just can't see not putting either of them in your top 10.
Okay, what I will agree with Akash is the volume was like unjustified. Like that's
Mhm.
really high. Like that's like not gonna happen most weeks, obviously. But to say that Amari Cooper is not gonna have a pretty high target share, I think is false. And especially there's games where Zeke and Amari Cooper will have good games. Like the Cowboys have one of the easiest schedules in like the next 10 weeks. They play pretty much bottom 10 defenses in about half of those contests. So Zeke, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and Michael Gallup's out too. Those are the three playmakers for that offense. So if I could see it's it's gonna be rare if one of them at least have a bad game, I think, in the next coming weeks. And with Zeke, the volume's there, everything's there. I don't think there's
And
anything to
Michael
worry
Gallup
about.
injury.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't see. And what, Zach Martin's coming back this week
Yeah,
Yep.
Zach
too?
Martin will be back this week.
Yeah, I think everybody's gonna be fine. I think Amari Cooper is an unquestioned top 10 wide receiver. The only issue that I have is his health. You have to take that into consideration. He's had a few injuries the past few years, but aside from that, all the positives are there. I think Amari Cooper's a certified top 10
I think
wideout
one
fantasy.
another thing I want to touch on real quick with Akash's list before I get on to another point with I have an issue with both of your lists. So
Yeah.
first, I'm gonna say that I like Cooper Cup. I like him a lot. I have him in my top 15. He was in my honorable mentions.
Hmm.
I think it's just a complete reach to put him at 9 over people like Allen Robinson, Amari Cooper. I think you had him over CeeDee Lamb, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Hmm.
CeeDee Lamb. I'm not sure who else you had him over, but there's probably people in there that he shouldn't be over.
I think you could definitely make that case. I'm doing this more on. I think Matt Stafford is. We've seen in the last 10 years that that guy is one of the best like quarterbacks, like just pure talent wise, that we've seen in a long time. Roble can attest to this as a sad Lions fan that he's seen that Matt Stafford can ball even if they're not winning games. Okay, so like we saw, and Cooper Cup is so far is his guy. I don't know what it is about Cooper Cup, but he's loving him. We saw 10 targets last week in a game where they were up the whole time. So I feel like the more and more this offense goes, and it's a really good team. I think the Rams, like especially with their defense, like they're not going to have many games where they're behind big time. But when those games turn around, I think there's going to be Cooper Cup getting the ball. So I think it's for me, it's more of a this is like it's a gut feeling, and it's just like I think this is going to be the case rather than like I don't know. It sounds like a silly argument because there's not that many stats I can prove to back it, but I just think that Cooper Cup Matt Stafford thing is going to be better than Cooper Cup and Jared Goff ever had.
um, yeah, I can see that, but I think one thing you're missing, especially one thing I look at when I especially look at NFC West receivers, whether it be DK, or even Hopkins. Obviously, Hopkins is in a different tier, so it doesn't really affect him as much.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at that division, they're playing each other. So they have 6 games a year where they're playing a team that is very, very good and that knows each other, and they know each other very, very well because they play each other 6 times a year, and they're all very good. And I just can't see Cooper Cup producing consistently enough to be a top 10 wide receiver. I can easily see him being top 15 this year. I think he has a case for that, but realistically, there's no way he's finishing above someone like Allen Robinson.
I don't think Allen Robinson is going to be that guy until the Chiefs really say one, they decide who the quarterback's going to be. It should be Justin Fields. Just going to say that, but until they actually make a decision and they're not doing these weird trick plays and they're not going to put Justin Fields in at random moments in the game and just throw him in and say good luck, buddy. Like they've got to figure out some concrete offense that Allen Robinson is going to get the ball from. So I think until then you can't. I don't have trust in Allen Robinson to perform.
That's not a bad take. Cooper Cup finishing as a better fantasy receiver than Allen Robinson. That's not.
I'm,
I think
I'm
I'm
gonna
side.
start over.
I think I might side with Akash on the take. I'm not gonna lie. Especially just the situation.
Yeah,
That's what
that's
you
the
have to
main thing
take.
that pushed me aside. Maybe
That's the main thing.
talent wise, you could say that Allen Robinson's better, but like
Yeah,
the way
I
this
think,
is shaking out on a team basis.
and also
Yeah, I can.
I'm interested to see how the dynamic works between him and Robert Woods. Robert Woods kind of had
Mm,
a down week. He had an up week. So
yeah,
I don't really know who's the wide receiver one on that team.
I don't
Is
know.
it Up? Is it Woods?
It looks like Cup after this week one, but again, I
Yeah,
they're both really talented. So
yeah. Also, I want to bring up one more point. It's aside from the top 10 list. I want to talk about Terry McLaurin and
Oh
his
man.
fantasy value. I don't think that he is that great of a fantasy receiver. I
All
think
right.
that when you look at the stats, let me pull up the stats last year. On a per game basis, he averaged 8 targets, 5 receptions, 70 receiving yards, and 14 PPR fantasy points per game.
Hmm.
Those are not impressive stats by any means. That's around Brandon Cooks' fantasy averages for last year. He's not a red zone. He doesn't have a high red zone target share. He's not in that great of a situation. I don't really see, and his ADP is at 26 for fantasy football this year. That's above Keenan Allen, Allen Robinson, CeeDee Lamb. Who else did I miss? And Amari Cooper.
Hmm.
I can't see you drafting him over any of those guys.
Yep.
I don't think he's that great of a fantasy receiver, and I will project that several guys that Akash listed in his honorable mentions will have better seasons. That's
I
my
mean, yeah,
opinion.
I think McLaurin is definitely a good player. I think a lot of his high ADP was due to the fact that um, he'd never had a good quarterback. I mean, last year he was playing with what Alex Smith on half a leg and Taylor Heineke
But that's still the
ran.
same this year.
Yeah, I know. And then I mean, obviously the expectation was Fitzpatrick's a gunslinger. He's gonna go out. That's what I said in our first podcast, and I was like, this football team's good. They're gonna be good. Like Fitzpatrick's gonna get them somewhere, but um, obviously with him being injured now, it goes back to Taylor Heineke, and God knows how
Heineke's
he's gonna perform with.
Heineke's
Heineke's
not
definitely
bad,
not bad.
but like I just don't see where McLaurin's value comes from
I don't
because
think
like
he has the upside that he came into the season with Fitzpatrick. He's just gonna return to what he was last year, which is
like
not worth that 26 ADP
target
above those
when
guys that you
you
mentioned.
when you compare him to the guys that we listed, the targets
Hmm.
aren't yards aren't
Yeah, I
there,
100% agree with you on that.
touchdowns aren't there. Like I think it's seriously time for like a discussion. I think he's a bit overrated fantasy wise. He's a good
Hmm.
receiver. If you play dynasty, he's a great receiving option. He's really young. But for this year's fantasy, I don't think he's a wide receiver one this year. That's just my
Yeah,
point.
I mean, I'm with you on that. I think that he's a very solid wide receiver two option, lots of upside. He's just talented. It's that simple. And you can
Yeah.
see when he plays that he's talented. It's just the situation didn't work out like it should have, and how it should have been for that 26 ADP. That I mean, I was high on McLaurin this year because I knew that guy was talented. I've watched him play for years. I knew he had it in him, but it was just that I thought if Fitzpatrick would light him up, it would ignite something in him. But
I I
and I mean, I don't know.
I would
It's just
say
it's not
for
good.
McLaurin, like even when Fitzpatrick was in that game in the first half, he wasn't seeing the targets we thought he would. He wasn't getting hit downfield when we saw what is it called? His big play from that game, it was from Taylor Heineke. So
Yeah.
I think McLaurin will be a top 15 receiver. I don't think he's going to be top 10. I think if he has a couple boom games, he may be able to crack the top 12. But I think he just doesn't have the situation that fits him, especially game script wise. Cause with such a great defense, the football team won't have to pass the ball to win games. They're going to be able to run the ball, play with Antonio Gibson, and throw the ball only when they need to. He won't see the
Hmm.
targets he needs to for the production to be a top 10 receiver, 100%.
I'm with you guys on that. Yeah.
Um, I think
Anything else? I
uh
think
I
Minaj, you had a little objection to, and I'll take a little stab at what your predicament was. It was that we had Tyreek at one and Tay Adams at two. So
100%.
I know you, and I know that that's gonna be a qualm. So let's hear it.
So yeah, 100%. So if we look at this just straight up off of last year's stats, right? We look at Devonte Adams having a 34% target share, right? And Tyreek Hill had a 23.4. That is a 10% difference in target share. And then
Good
next,
math.
we look at the red zone target share, right? Where Tyreek Hill had less than 25%. And let's talk about this. Devonte Adams had a 42.2% target share in the red zone.
No way.
So when you look at that, and then him having 148 targets in 14 games, the highest target rate, highest fantasy points per game, and a pass happy offense with Aaron Rodgers. They play the Detroit Lions and Minnesota Vikings 2 times each a year. And now we saw how weak the Bears secondary is. He plays the Bears 2 times a year. 6 games where we will see him put up over 30 points a game. 6. That's automatic wide receiver 1. He doesn't even have to
Mhm.
play the other games. So
Okay.
when you look at it, in the broader scheme of things, Devontae Adams could drop a goose egg in every game that's not a divisional game and still finish as a top 3 wide receiver.
So basically, my thought process with this is it may be week one overreaction, but it just doesn't look like Aaron Rodgers wants to be there. Like when your quarterback just is sad, like what are you gonna get out of your offense? Like evidently once out this year was just gonna be like a goodbye Green Bay retirement farewell tour, and it's just not gonna play well in Devontae Adams' favor. We saw a dud week this week against the Saints. It was a dud week for the whole team. Like that's sometimes those things just happen. We saw that like with Atlanta too. We saw the same thing. It was just a dud week overall. Like and Calvin really didn't show out. But I think in general, like Tyreek Hill, I've been Chiefs. I've been on the Chiefs bandwagon, whatever, since week one, since we started this, and I said that they're the best football team in the country, and that they got that guy under center throwing the ball to Tyreek Hill. It's gonna that there's magic there. There's something special in that offense. I think that's gonna take them
They
up,
had
like
that
get him
last
to
year
be a
too,
number
didn't
one.
they?
I mean, they did have that last year, but guess
What
what's different
happened?
this year?
Devontae played
Guess
less
what's yeah, yeah,
games.
but guess what's different this year?
Devontae played
Aaron
2 less
Rodgers wants out.
games. Actually, he
Aaron
played
Rodgers
three
is
Hold
less
on.
games because he
unhappy.
played a quarter
He wants to
of
be a
one of the
Bronco,
Let me
games.
man.
make my
Let him be
point. Let me make
free.
my point. Let
Huh?
me make my I'm like the same situation with Akash. I think it's just a week one overreaction.
Maybe
If
that's the same reason you guys have Amari Cooper like on Inshallah
no,
level.
that's not the reason
It's
why.
not.
But
He has the targets. If you look at last year's game log with Dak, the targets were there. The
21.4 points per
receptions
game.
were there. He's a great route runner. If you have Keenan Allen in your top 10, Amari Cooper should be in your top 10. Both have great quarterbacks. To be honest, they're literally the same player, except Amari Cooper has better game script. Like I said before, they're literally the same player.
No, my
I don't
thing
know.
about
We'll see.
like there's no advanced statistic that says Tyreek Hill is better than Devontae Adams. There is zero besides
Yeah,
like speed or something like that.
Then
and
why
So
did you have him above him?
eyes,
no,
bro. I'm telling you,
the
it's the
only
it's the
reason I have
mental
him above
test.
him is because of Aaron Rodgers. And I don't know what he's
Exactly.
gonna do this season. Is he gonna absolutely crap the bed for the
Dude, he
rest of these
needs.
15 weeks?
Yeah,
I don't know. Like seriously, that throws Adams, that throws Aaron Jones, that throws everybody's situation in jeopardy. So like I don't know.
I'm with
If
you on that one.
if they never played that Saints game, like Adams is
Yeah.
my number one guy throughout last year, the year before that. Like it's not debatable,
hmm
really.
But I think Aaron Rodgers, there's something missing there. I don't know if he like needs to meet his parents again. I know it's been a while, but there's something missing with Aaron Rodgers right now. So he needs he needs to put it together. He needs to get happy again in Green Bay. And
Uh,
until that happens, it's not good. Like it's just not gonna work.
Yeah.
And so that's basically why I've got Devontae at two, and why I think Robles is in the same spot as me and having Devontae at two.
I think you guys both had Deontay Johnson in your honorable mentions, if I'm not wrong, right?
Yeep.
I don't know if
And
Roble
I'll give
did.
you two words for that. Ben Roethlisberger.
I had him at
That's why he's
10.
on my top 10. That's why he's on my top 10 is what I'm
I
saying.
I have him at exactly 10. I don't like Ben Roethlisberger, but
That's what I'm
Deontay
saying, yeah.
Johnson against the Bills, against a really tough passing defense, showed that he can catch the ball now. He doesn't drop the ball.
I'm
He
proud of him.
literally left the
first one
game
was
and
crazy.
played 80% for the rest of the game, still caught a touchdown pass, 14.6 fantasy points. I think we will only see more than that against defenses that are weaker than what we saw with the Buffalo game. The entire Steelers offense was pretty bad. I'm not even gonna lie.
So are the
Um,
Bills.
Yeah.
And both teams, it was a defensive
It was
stalemate.
just a bad game.
And I think Deontay's the clear number one on that team. He's able to run everything in the route tree, unlike Juju, and he's not just a jump ball receiver like Claypool. I think Deontay Johnson is their X factor. He's gonna get the targets. He showed that he's gonna get the targets and he's gonna have touchdowns. So I think having him at 10 is fair over someone like Allen Robinson and Justin Jefferson. So yeah, that's what I'd like to say. And also one more thing before we move on. I think me and Roble didn't have Justin Jefferson in our top tens, but you did, right, Akash?
Yeah,
Yeah, I did.
Jefferson in the top 10.
You did?
I'm a big Kirk.
Yeah.
I'm a
Got
yeah.
him at 9.
I have
You
him
got
at
him at
8,
9?
and I'm just
You don't
I'm a
have
big.
him, you don't have him in your top 10?
No.
Nah, I'm surprised.
Okay.
I think Minnesota. People don't realize how good Minnesota is.
They're a run first team. They're a run first team, and he's not the primary red zone target.
Akash.
Yeah.
Justin Jefferson had a record-breaking season last year.
Yep.
1,400 receiving yards, right?
Yep. With Dalvin Cook injured 2
17.1.
games. Yeah.
Huh?
Yep. With Dalvin Cook injured 2 games. Yes. And he was not facing the
Yeah,
number
but
one corner till week
2
6.
out of that's an eighth of his season, and then we're talking about an entire season. So where do
Okay.
the 2 games come into play?
Justin
Okay,
Jefferson
we're talking
played
about the
all
2
6
games and then the other 6 games where he wasn't facing the
Justin
number one
Jefferson
corner.
played
And
all
now he
16
is.
games. Justin Jefferson played all 16 games last year. 2 of those games, he wasn't even immersed in the offense. So let's
Okay.
cut
Yeah.
that down. So if you want to play the same argument, let's cut that down to 14 games.
Okay, 14 games. And now go 6 games. So 8 games.
Wait, what? Where are we doing this math from?
Wait, what? Why is 6 games?
6 games.
What are
It
the
took
6
him
games?
6 weeks to be matched up against the number one corner.
Schedule. What does that
What?
have to do with it?
He wasn't the number one receiver. He's now the number one receiver on the Vikings. Am I wrong?
Yeah. So then
He's
why
the
are you
one getting
taking?
matched up across
He
from the
was the
number one
X.
corner on the other team.
Was
Okay,
he
yeah.
not the X?
No,
Once
he was not the X
Not
till
at the
6
start of the
weeks.
year.
That's what
Adam
I'm saying.
Thielen was the
6
start at the
weeks.
start of the year. To start the year, Adam Thielen was number 1. I'll give him
Yeah. And right now,
But
Dalvin Cook is
Still
going to
can't
get
ignore
the
the
majority of
stats.
the workload in the offense. Adam Thielen's getting the red zone opportunities. So what I'm asking is, Justin Jefferson is going to see targets. He is going to see receptions because he's really talented. He had that record-breaking rookie year. But where is he going to see the volume to be a top 10 receiver when he has a top 3 running back who's going to get 20 to 30 touches a game, and then Adam Thielen who's going to take all his red zone touches? Where is Justin Jefferson going to get his production from? I don't
he's gonna get
think
it
he
from
can
Kirk
go.
Cousins. His
I don't think he can
arm
go
of a
6 and
baller like Kirk
100 every
Cousins can get
week.
him. No,
Okay,
I
you're
think it's
ignoring
gonna.
the other part of the game. Like, you don't just
Yeah,
put the ball in the red zone.
Yeah,
yeah. You don't just run
so
and throw
you
the ball
think
in the
Justin
red zone.
Jefferson will
There's-
go 6 receptions for 100 yards or 8 receptions for 80 yards every week?
No. But
Okay,
what
then
I
how's he
doable.
going to finish top 10?
Huh?
How's he going to finish top 10?
I mean, you play boom or bust. You don't just like.
So you're
It's
telling
not
me a
consistent.
boomer
Nobody
bust
plays
wide
16
receivers
points per
top
game.
10?
What you said is
Yeah,
a
because
dream
think about
impossible.
when
Okay,
he
let's
booms,
read.
it's 35.
No. Let's read through
And
the
when he
top
busts,
10
it's
again.
10. That's
No.
doable.
Before we move on to the next topic, let me tell you. If we're talking
Better
about
than
boomer
A.J.
bust,
Brown.
if we look at the top 10, Devontae Adams, not boomer bust. Tyreek Hill, not boomer bust. Hopkins, no. Ridley, no. Diggs, no. Metcalf, no. Cooper, no. Keenan Allen, no. CeeDee Lamb, no.
I was Justin Jefferson boomer bust. I'm confused.
Akash just said he's boomer bust because he
I
won't
didn't say
go
boom.
8 and
I
80.
meant like, yeah, but
No, he's
80
not
and 80 isn't going to be
So you're telling me
production.
he
You
won't get
didn't
16 points per game?
Yes, he will.
He will.
He will.
How?
Huh?
How?
Because he's an elite route runner. He averaged 17.1 fantasy points per game.
Yeah, in 6 weeks playing
1,400 receiving yards
6
last
weeks
year.
playing 6 weeks playing the number 2 corner, technically the number 3 corner because they'll have their number 1 corner on the outside, number 2 corner in the slot, and then their number 3 corner. So he was facing a second or third best corner for
Okay,
6
pull up
weeks.
the stats. Pull up the stats after that. Am I
Yeah,
not wrong?
he got better as the season went
He
on.
got
It wasn't
better
like
as
he
the season progressed.
finished. I was a Justin
Then
Jefferson
how did he
owner
do
earlier
so bad
early in the
against a
fantasy
terrible
season last year.
Bengals secondary?
That's one game.
Okay, it's one
Yeah, and
game. You guys put
Ridley was
Devontae
trash
Adams to
against the
number 2
Eagles.
because of one
Yeah,
game.
you know who did worse than him this week?
Who?
Devontae Adams. You know who did worse than him this week? Calvin Ridley. And guess
Yeah.
where they are? They're still at number 4 and number 1 or whatever.
Yeah, because
They
their
had a
entire
bad
team
game.
did bad. That's the difference. The Vikings
The
offense
Vikings
still
lost to the
produced.
Bengals.
The Vikings offense still produced. Adam Thielen had 30 points. Dalvin Cook had 23 points. Kirk Cousins had over 20 points. Why was Justin Jefferson up there? Why did he have
Players
12
have bad
points?
games. A player's not allowed to have bad games.
Yeah.
If a consistent top 10 receiver, when you look at those guys, they
You just
barely have
provided
bad
two
games.
top
And if
ten
they had
receivers
bad
who
games,
had
their
bad
entire
games.
team performed bad.
You
Not
just li-
just them.
we just listed two top 10 receivers who had bad games this week.
Yeah, this week, and look at their entire team. The Packers, no one on their offense put up over 10 fantasy points. Neither did the Falcons. The Vikings had Adam Thielen, 30 points. Dalvin Cook,
Stephon Diggs had a
23.
bad game.
Kirk Cousins, over 20. Where was the volume for Justin Jefferson? It wasn't there.
Stephon Diggs had a bad game. I think this is just the
Stephon Diggs had
overreaction.
15
Yeah.
points.
The
That's not a
volume is there.
15 points is a
Exactly.
bad
Yeah.
game.
15
I
points is
mean,
an
but 15 points versus 12
15
game
points is an
versus
average
13
game. It's
points.
not a bad game.
What's the difference between
Hey,
15 points and 13 points? That's a catch
Adams
for
had-
10 yards.
how much did
Guess
Adams
what? Did he
really?
get that catch for 10 yards? No, he didn't.
Oh,
He didn't.
bro.
He didn't.
I'm
That's two
popping.
fantasy points, Akash. If you got those two fantasy
Two
points,
fantasy points.
you might have been able to beat me this week.
I didn't have him, but like,
I know, but two fantasy points. It's huge.
we're not gonna talk about that.
Okay.
I don't. Yeah,
But
that's private
that's all I'm gonna
information.
say. If to be a top 10 receiver, the
cool.
consistency and volume, if even if he had a bad game and he had a lot of targets, I'd be fine with that. But the targets were average, the receptions were average, the yards were average, and his whole offense did amazing. Other than him, so. I mean, I think he will have good games this season. I think he will finish top 15. I think he'll finish top 12. To be honest, I'm at 12 in mine. I have Allen Robinson at 11, him at 12. So I think he's still going to do well. I just don't see the consistency from him and the red zone target share for him to be a top 10 receiver yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you make a good point. I think it's just that Jefferson's too talented to be left out of a top 10 like that after a season. After that season, he had setting records, just being good like that. So, yeah. I don't know. Do you have any other issues with the top 10 list, or do you have any other debates? Or if not, we can get moving to our next segment.
I think we went over everything that was a good,
Yeah,
like a little bit
I'm pretty good
controversial. I think
with that. Yeah,
I think I'm good with everything, to be
I'm good with
honest.
that too.
Um.
So what we got next?
So next we're gonna go into our next segment. I think that was a good wrap on our top 10 wide receivers. We're gonna go on to our reactions to the week 1 games. We're gonna go through this really quick. We already went over Cowboys Buccaneers on episode 2. So if you guys want to go check that out, you guys can go and check that out on the YouTube channel, episode 2. Me and Roble gave our reactions to the Buccaneers Cowboys game. It was a great game. We liked it. And then so let's get into the rest of the games. We'll start with the Seahawks versus the Colts. Akash, you want to give your...
Not much to this game. I mean, easy Seahawks. When we saw that offense is still, they're still good. They can still ball. I think the main takeaway I saw from this game was Zach Pascal. He's come out, and I think he might be the number 1 for Indy, and so I think that's just he's a sleeper. He's someone that can break out this year. So that's all I got. Not much on that one.
Zach Pascal, 2 touchdowns. That was big. Seahawks, one thing I note about Tyler Lockett, last year we saw this boom and then he fades. I think that changes this year. I think that Tyler Lockett with the new offensive coordinator will be running more short and intermediate routes. So he's still going to get those receptions. He's going to have those solid 13, 14-point weeks. And then he'll have weeks like this week where he gets that long touchdown and makes it 29 points. So I think Tyler Lockett will be a lot more consistent this year. I'm hoping Russell Wilson can be more consistent this year, especially in the second half of the season. We see this every year. Russell Wilson, 4 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns throughout the first half of the season all the time, and then Just
And then we
falls
get to
off.
we want with one touchdown and 4 picks, and then the
Yeah.
rest for MVP chance slowly die.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm hoping he can be more consistent. As a Seahawks fan, I was happy. Our offensive line proved me wrong. I chose the Colts to win this game because I thought our offensive line wouldn't be able to protect Wilson. They looked pretty good. Obviously not elite, but they looked serviceable. So I think this is one of the better O lines Russ has had, and I think he'll be able to work with this. So yeah. Oh yeah, one last thing with the Colts. Jonathan Taylor, even with terrible game script and being down the entire game, was able to produce. So Jonathan Taylor, he is gonna get that. I was wrong, and I'll take that L from episode 2, saying that he won't get the volume. He is gonna get that volume this year. Jonathan Taylor is very, very good. All right,
How
Roblo, what
many
do you?
carries did Marlon Mack have?
0.
That's it.
Uh, I'm inevitable.
Huh?
I'm inevitable.
Yeah, man, he
I
had you hold
bro.
that L
I
really quick. You gotta get him
How'd your
back fast.
boy what's his name do this week?
Naheem?
It's got
Damien Harris.
yeah.
He actually did pretty well. He had 23 carries, 100 yards. He would have had 18 fantasy points if it wasn't for a called back touchdown. I think the volume he showed was there. The Dolphins defense played very well last week. 11 points is solid. I think the Jets this week he's going to have an even better game. I think the touchdowns will come. He did get all the red zone carries like I thought he would.
Yeah.
He even got some receiving work that I didn't expect him to get. Minus the fumble, he looked great. I mean, the fumble was pretty bad. Kind of choked
Stevenson
the
fumbled
Patriots the
also.
game. But
Whatever that guy's name is.
what?
I mean, yeah, that's
Stevenson,
Steven
yeah.
he fumbled too, so
Yeah, so I think Damon
cancel
Harris's
out his
role is
good.
secured. I think he's fine. I think he's a high end RB2 this week for against the Jets. So yeah, I
I
think
guess that's kind of that's the main conversation, to be honest, about that Dolphins Patriots game in general. Pretty boring, but I think Damian Harris is the talking point.
yeah,
I
Damian
actually
Harris and
like
also
him.
Jacoby Myers. He did. Mac Jones
Yeah,
liked
Jacob.
throwing to him. So
Yeah.
Jacoby Myers is 100% going to be a flex play, especially in weeks where the Patriots have favorable matchups. Jacoby Myers is going to be a PPR machine.
Yeah.
I think we can talk about the Chargers, Washington. Actually, we'll go over Eagles Falcons real quick. Nothing much there. Falcons dudded out. Didn't really play well. Their defense sucked. Offense sucked. Everything sucked. Jalen Hurts looks great. Devonta Smith looks great. Miles Sanders, do not buy into this hype. It was one game. Don't
Nah,
be
he's
like
good. He's
don't be
good. I'm
like
telling you,
Akash and
he's
buy
good.
high on
Didn't buy
don't
high.
buy
I
high
bought. I
on
think.
Miles Sanders, guys.
Please.
Miles
Yeah.
Sanders is the most overrated player. He got his touchdown yoinked because it's a running back by committee, and it was third down, and he doesn't play third downs like his offensive coordinator said. The touchdowns won't be there. He's not going to play the worst D line in the league every week. Miles Sanders is not putting up 17 points per game, 17 points again until he either plays the Texans or plays another terrible O line. It's not going to happen. He's
Or
awful.
has a
He's
breakout
going to get
rush.
destroyed against the Niners.
Okay.
All I'm going to say, less than
We'll
10
see.
points.
Niners
We'll
right
see.
that good, to be honest.
Reiner's on defense is good, but they did just allow DeAndre Swift to get 24.
Yeah,
DeAndre
well, I mean,
Swift and
DeAndre Swift got that through
Jamal
receptions.
Williams.
Jamal Williams rushed really well. But, I mean, that was towards
Yeah,
the end
Jamal
of the
Williams at
game. They were
25
up
too.
by 3 scores. I mean, if you look at the first half, Jamal Williams really didn't do anything. Swift didn't do anything. They let up on defense. It was just they probably running a lot in practice. They just gave up because they knew they had the win.
Yeah.
So
It's
I
true.
mean, yeah, that's what we got to talk about. I think the next big game that surprised a lot of people. I think all 3 of us got this prediction wrong. Steelers versus Bills.
Oh
Steelers
yeah.
beating the Bills. This game was big, to be honest. I'll give my thoughts first. I think first of all, Najee Harris. Do not sell this guy low. 100%. He was 100% of the time he was on the field. So he is on the he's the only running back there. He's the only guy who's going to get the touches. They weren't able to do it this week against a stingy O-line. Just hold on to him against the Raiders this week. He will produce. Hold on to him.
I'm with that. I'm
Also,
with that, Jake.
not buy into the Steelers hype.
Huh?
Yeah, don't buy into any of the Steelers wide receiver hype.
Wide
No, I'm just
Maybe
receivers?
DeAndre is
I'm
Deontay.
talking about
Sorry.
the team. I'm not buying
Uh,
into the hype of the
I
team.
The
don't think
Like,
they're a
team?
good team. I've been saying they're not a
I
good
think
team,
they look.
but I don't think
You can't be saying
Oh,
that after
offense.
they just beat the Bills. Hello?
No, I'm just
They're a
they
defense.
top five team in the AFC minimum. Realistically, the
Defense.
only teams you can put over them are the Chiefs, Browns. They just beat the Bills, but you can put the
Yeah, but a
but
Bills
I'd
top
over
still
five
them.
say you
isn't
put the Bills
enough.
above them.
Top five isn't enough, bro. Like seriously, they have one of like the best defenses in the league. I don't
Yeah,
think
and
their
I think they're
offense.
top three in the AFC.
Yeah, but that's not enough to win a Super Bowl.
Who cares? We haven't seen them play the Chiefs or Browns yet.
Yeah, and they're
Obviously,
not.
after the showing between the Chiefs and Browns, you have to put the Chiefs and Browns 1 and 2. But you don't know this what the Steelers will do to the Browns. You don't know
Offense didn't look too good in my opinion. I mean, dude,
because
let's
it's a
look at
Bills defense. It's a good defense. They won the game.
okay, okay, that's fine. But let's look at the touchdown, right? I think they had a special teams play, a
Yeah, and
deflected touchdown to Deontay Johnson.
yeah,
Ben Roethlisberger throughout the game was average. Missed Najee in the flat a bunch of times.
yeah.
I
He
mean,
missed
obviously,
Najee in the
yeah,
flat a couple times. The rest of his throws weren't that bad. He played average. Jimmy Garoppolo, you're forgetting Jimmy Garoppolo took that team to the Super Bowl. And if you look at it, Peyton Manning in his last year got carried to a Super Bowl by his defense. All you need is a serviceable QB to go to the Super Bowl. That defense is amazing. Their
but that
supporting
defense is not
cast
the
is
2015
amazing.
Broncos. Don't even
The
try and make the case that that team is the 2016 Broncos, or else we will spend the
No,
rest of
that
this
oh,
defense
that's
podcast
isn't
arguing
close to
about
the
how they
fine.
Broncos.
aren't that
That obviously the
good.
Broncos is probably a
Good,
top three defense of all time. 85 Bears and the Legion of Boom. The top three right there.
good.
But if like I just can't see how you're gonna tell me that team is not good. Like that's such a bad
No, I didn't
no.
say they're not good. I'm just not buying into the hype.
What hype?
No,
No one's
I
A
saying they're
lot
think
gonna win the
a
Super
lot of
Bowl.
people are trying to say that they're good.
I mean
A
they're
lot of
good.
yeah,
They
Steelers
are
fans are trying
good.
to say
They
that they're.
beat the
I'm hearing a lot
Bills.
of Steelers revival and stuff like that. I don't think they're
Mm-mm.
as good as a
I don't
football
know
team.
what hype you guys are seeing. Like I haven't seen anybody say they're gonna win a
I don't know
Super
if the
Bowl.
hype is just
I haven't
like
even seen people say they're gonna go to the
deluded Steelers
AFC
fans.
Championship.
I've
Like
definitely seen that.
I
Yeah, I've
haven't.
definitely
All
seen
I've
that
seen
too,
is that people are saying the Browns and the Chiefs are gonna rematch in the championship.
which I can back.
Exactly. They're the
I
third best team in the AFC right now. There's no one you can put
I don't
above
know.
them. Um,
We'll
but
see this
yeah,
time.
if we talk about Bills, the Bills
Disappointing, to be honest. That's all I can say.
that was
It was
disappointing.
bad.
Their
It was
offense
bad.
was not explosive. I think it's
It
going
was
to
not what
end up
we expected.
catching up to them. I think the lack of the run game is going to catch up to them. Like
I
Someone
mean,
needs to step
it's
up.
so
Devin
one
Singletary or
dimensional.
Zach Moss.
What?
Singletary
Zach
didn't have
Moss
a good
or
game.
Singletary.
Yeah, I don't.
Singletary had
Zach
like
Moss was a
70
healthy
yards.
scratch, man. That was crazy to me.
Yeah.
A healthy scratch, so he was good to go, and they didn't even put him on the active roster. So I think at this point it's
Yeah.
safe to cut Zach Moss from your fantasy teams. I mean, I drafted him in a couple of my leagues in the late rounds, thinking he might produce, but he's a healthy scratch. So at this point, him, Trey Sermon, others, cut them from your teams. They're not going to do anything. Healthy scratches is never a good thing.
I'd say I don't know about Trey Sermon because Kyle Shanahan
Trey
is
Sermon is no healthy
Keep,
a
scratch.
little
He's the
psycho.
keep
fourth
Trey
RB
Sermon.
on that depth chart. Now he's third
Keep
with
Trey
Raheem Mostert's
Sermon, bro.
injury, but
Shanahan's really weird with the way he does
Shanahan's
things.
a bit of a psycho. He
He likes to
if
like.
we're gonna go to a soccer comparison, he's the Pep Guardiola of the NFL.
He's
Bro, like that's
weird,
what I mean.
bro.
Like,
Yeah,
he does what he
really.
wants. It's Kyle Shanahan roulette every week to see who's gonna play well and who's gonna do good. And we said Brandon Ayuk not do anything,
Yeah, you
straight
see what
zero.
happened with Ayuk?
Yeah, like it's just Kyle Shanahan does what he wants. So I wouldn't do anything hasty with the San Francisco 49ers,
oh, I like that
but
hasty. Mm-hmm.
Jermichael Hasty.
That was pretty
See?
fire.
Hey, that was good.
So yeah, I mean I wouldn't do anything crazy. Just keep yourself in check with that 49ers team. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, you
He
can't
might play
trust that
next week.
49ers backfield.
He might play next week. To be
Who,
honest with
Sermon?
you. Yeah,
No.
Yeah.
Dude,
he
they're
is
not
Hopefully.
gonna run a third back. They like
Shanahan likes to prove the doubters wrong,
it's
bro.
Yeah.
not how that
Shanahan just does what he
works. That's
wants.
not how that works. We know that their running backfield is a carousel. but they've always run two backs. It's two backs. It was Mostert and then who's the other guy on
Most
the
of
Super
just
Bowl
got
run?
injured.
Huh?
Most of just got injured. It's like
It
that.
was
I
Mostert and Jeff
know
Wilson
it's
last year.
Elijah Mitchell, right, as the RB1, and Jamichael
Sermon.
Hasty is the pound back as the RB2. Sermon does not have a role on that team right now.
As of right now, I think he's a player that
Unless another one
you'll
of
see
them go
work
down
coming
with
out.
injury, he's not worth a spot on your bench. There's a lot of players on waivers who
That's
will
true.
prove to be more worthy of your bench spot for a stash for the future than Trey Sermon is.
That's true.
So yeah, I think we can move on. That takes us straight into the 49ers Lions game.
I
Lions
mean
surprised a lot of
that's the
people.
main thing.
I'll
A lot,
touch on
Yeah,
this. I'll
yeah,
touch on this
yeah. You
one.
go for it.
Niners looked really good throughout 3 quarters, but didn't play a complete match. And fourth quarter, they kind of slipped up. Fantasy wise, it was like a really good performance from about everybody on the team, like from both sides. Like if
Other
you
than
start,
Kittle,
other than Joe.
it was kind of a letdown, but like, I think the fumble at the end kind of messed up his stat line a little bit.
But they could. I think they
they
ended up
corrected
changing
that. They
that, right?
corrected that.
Okay.
Yeah, which is
Well,
kind of crazy.
most Hawkinson played really well. 2 backs for
Hawkinson had a nice 25 point game.
25 points for
Debo
Hawkinson.
Samuel went
Yeah,
kind of crazy. Like it was pretty
it was
good
a
week.
shootout.
Yeah, I mean Lions. Obviously, I'm not expecting playoff hopes or anything like that, but pretty solid showing against one of the best teams in the
I
league.
think I like their coach. Their coach, I mean, even when they were
And
down
Campbell,
three
yeah,
scores, their coach kept them in the game, made sure that they were still motivated to play, and they almost made that comeback. It was good to watch. I think the 49ers need to clean up some stuff because they're in the toughest division in football. And based off of the first week, they look like the worst team in that division. Obviously, they're still one of the best in the NFC, but I think the Niners are clearly the worst team in that division. Based off the first week, I think the Cardinals look like the best. I think it then went the Rams and then the Seahawks. Those two are close, and then I think the Niners were at the bottom. Um, so yeah, I think that takes us straight into a big surprise game, Vikings Bengals. The Bengals upset the Vikings big time. Before Akash talks about his playoff prediction, he did
Oh yeah,
say
let me
that the
get that.
Vikings were going to win this game. But he did
I did
also
say that.
say that the Bengals are going to make the playoffs.
Okay, so let me talk. So I'm big on the Vikings, right? I think Adam Thielen underappreciated. These two know I've been banging the Adam Thielen drum for years. That guy is a
Yep.
baller. Kirk Cousins underappreciated. People hate on him because he's Kirk Cousins, because he's whatever. Man says frick all the time. Like he does what he wants. He's Kirk Cousins, but he's a good player, regardless of his off the field antics. He's a good player, and so I think I just said I thought that offense is also talented. We talked about this in the Justin Jefferson argument that like, I mean they can they're just really talented in the end, but the defense that's always been reliable for the Vikings. I mean, the year when they had the Minneapolis Miracle, it was a defensive team. Like their defense was the main thing. Offense kind of came second, but
yeah,
it seems like the tide's beginning to shift a little bit, and I don't know how good that's going to be with a defensive coach like Mike Zimmer heading up the team. That I don't know how it's going to work out for Minnesota. Like, but you know what? My prediction's looking pretty good. Bengals are 1-0. Jamar Chase called it. I'm with it. It's looking good for this team.
he had a really good game too.
It was a really good game. I caught the end of it. I was in the movies for most of the 1 p.m. slate, but in general, it was. I caught the end of that game and it was good.
Yeah. I mean, like a few takeaways. Joe Mixon had a really good game, which I
Yeah,
predict. The volume was crazy. Like I think he had like 29 carries, 136 yards, touchdown. Great stat line. Jamar Chase was really good. I think that wide receiver room is a bit difficult. I don't really know how that's gonna play out for the rest of the season. Chase looked like the number one, but that could switch any other week.
Yeah,
So
Chase looked like
I don't
number
really know
one.
about
Yeah.
that. Joe Burrow wasn't bad coming back from injury, but I was a little disappointed with the Vikings. I mean, I think if you're playing the Bengals, like you really got to put them away early. And also, the Dalvin Cook fumble at the end was not a fumble. He was down. Like he was literally laying on the ground and the ball
Yeah, his
popped
butt
out.
was on the ground before the ball came out, but there was just
Yeah,
it just wasn't clear enough to overturn the call on the field though.
kind of BS, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And
Nah,
that's what led
you can't do you the thing is, right? The replay angle, it was hard to see the ball and his butt at the same time. So they couldn't really make that um they couldn't make
on
a
the
good
internet though.
ruling.
There was like way better angles that they decided not to use. Like there was a side angle where you could see him on the ground with the ball down with the ball, and then it popped out. So
The
like that was a bit
ball, dude, it was a lot harder, especially in that 10 minutes that they had. They looked at the angles that were there at that time, and the angles they
okay.
showed. I watched that game live. I literally watched the entire thing through. If you watched it live television, all the shots they were looking at, it was a very, very hard. It was very hard to make a choice, and when you look at the fact that it's the call on the field was a fumble, they couldn't overturn that. That's how
For sure.
officiating works. So I mean,
For sure.
obviously, it's a hard call to make. Vikings may have deserved to win that game, but I think
Yeah.
in my opinion, I think the Bengals deserved to win that game. They played their hearts out. They played well. Um, yeah, that's about all I
Yeah.
have to say for that. Next, Jets Panthers. We can go over this one really quickly. Sam Darnold looked great. Jets revenge game. He beat them. Zach Wilson needs an O line. Without an O line, he's not going to succeed. He showed some flashes. Huge arm. Good amount of accuracy. Corey Davis is the number one target there. I think that's about all we learned from that game. Cardinals Titans. This one's a big one. I'll start off with Chandler Jones. 5 sacks and a strip
Wow.
sack. I think that's going to be the defensive game of the year, probably from a single
Probably.
player. That was great. Kyler Murray looked great. DeAndre Hopkins looked great. The Titans, the exact opposite. Their defense sucked. Their Julio didn't make the impact we thought he would. AJ Brown looked about what AJ Brown should look like. He looked like a top 12, top 10 receiver. Um, Tannehill looked awful. Derrick Henry did not have any room to run. Taylor Lewan got exposed. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my thoughts on that game.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Cardinals just looked like the better team. I expected a lot more from the Titans.
same.
Obviously, just acquired Julio. Maybe it'll take him a little bit to integrate himself into that system, but I expected more. I mean, that's basically it. The Cardinals showed that they've definitely taken a step up from last year. Just missed the playoffs, obviously, but yeah, they're gonna. I think there's gonna have to a lot's gonna have to go wrong for them to miss the playoffs for a second straight year.
Yeah,
I think I'm the only one who took the Cardinals in this game.
I
you
Who
are.
think
did?
you are.
Yes, yeah.
So yeah, congrats.
No, I mean, I was just really disappointed by the Titans. When I laid out those defensive issues, I didn't think they were going to be as bad as they actually were.
Yeah.
They like there was a play where Kyler Murray zipped around in the
That
pocket,
was
stopped
insane,
on a
bro.
dime,
Mhm.
and like threw it up to I think it was DeAndre or
Nah,
was
it
it
was Kirk. It
Ron?
was Kirk. It was Kirk.
It
I
was Christian
think.
Kirk.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, something like that. That play was ridiculous,
And then the other
but
one where he
Mhm.
dashed around to the right side and then threw it to Hopkins in the end zone. That one was insane too.
Yeah.
Kyler was
he
just
he was
clowning. To
insane.
be honest, the Titans were getting pressure. It's just Kyler was just evading every tackler. I mean,
When you play QBs like that, like you want to keep them in the pocket.
yeah,
So like the techniques that the Titans were using to rush just weren't effective. Like
yeah,
Yeah.
coming in from the just I think they run with like no two nose tackles and like defensive ends or some shit. And they came like this and Kyler Murray just had room to spin out. Like that's just not how you game plan against him. So it
yeah,
was just poor execution all over the field. Look
yeah.
for
I
the Titans
agree.
to bounce back though. They're not gonna be as bad as they were
I don't
last
think
week.
they'll bounce back against the Seahawks. I think Derrick Henry will bounce back. He'll have a better game, but I think the Seahawks are going to literally violate their defense. I mean, if Kyler and DeAndre
Yeah.
can do that, Russ plus DK plus Tyler Lockett are going to dismantle that team. Unless something changes, some big changes come in
Mhm.
exactly a week. Next, we got a
Yeah.
big game. 2 Super Bowl contenders, Browns versus Chiefs. I had the Browns in this game. You guys both took the Chiefs. I was
I said
disappointed
it.
by
Best football team in the world. Why did
after
I
their
say
first half performance. I thought the Browns really had that. I don't know what halftime speech Freddie Kitchens gave his team. That was the worst halftime speech I ever could have given them.
that?
They took their gas off the gas. They took their foot off the gas pedal. You
He's a
can't do
coach.
that against the
Yeah,
Chiefs,
head coach. I thought it was Stefanski.
huh?
Yeah, I think it's Kevin Stefanski.
Oh
I don't think
shoot,
he's the
my
head
bad. But
coach.
that's my bad. Whatever. But either way, the fact that they took their foot off the gas pedal against the Kansas City Chiefs, the best offense in football, you
Best
can't
team.
do that. You just cannot do that. And then you're gonna give up a 75 yard touchdown to Tyreek Hill to get their momentum going. Like, you just can't do that. Like, that's the one thing against the Chiefs. You can give Kelsey his underneath routes. You cannot give Tyreek Hill those 70, 60, 50 yard touchdowns. That just gets Mahomes going. That gets their whole offense going.
Dude, Mahomes just chucked that throw up there.
Hill was just there.
Dude,
He was behind everybody. Like,
no, but like, did you see like the route and stuff? Like Mahomes just pulled out and just slang that. It just went up in the air,
it
came
was
out. Yeah.
crazy, but either way, both of these teams have a legitimate shot at the Super Bowl. I think whenever and if Odell does come back, I think the Browns will get a big boost that they do need at the wide receiver position.
Mhm.
But other than that, both teams looked great. They performed to what everyone thought they would perform to. And I think both are going to be great.
I think the Chiefs play better when they're down. Is
Yeah,
that
they're a team that they aren't down much. And I
they
think they
aren't
needed
down
it.
much, but like
They needed that little kick.
when they're down, like they play like really good
Not in the
football.
Super Bowl.
I mean,
I mean, hey,
talk about
that
that
don't
game.
count. That's a different stage. It's a new team this year.
We
That's
want to
true.
Revamp
know
That's
about
true.
that game. Like, where was the
that
O
game.
line at?
Yeah, the O line was
There's
non-existent.
literally is there not like four new
All
starters
right.
or five? Almost a whole new offensive line this year.
I think we should probably move on to the next.
Yeah,
Dolphins Patriots.
we kind of talked about this one a little bit with
Yeah,
the
we already
Damian Harris
talked about it. The
conversation.
major storylines. I think I'll recap real quick. Mac Jones looked great. We might be in trouble in the next few years. Mac Jones plus Bill Belichick. We may be seeing something stir up.
I don't know.
I like Damian Harris. Jacoby Myers great, and then the Dolphins. To be honest, they got lucky with that fumble. The Dolphins, the offense just did not function. I don't know. They didn't use Mike Gesicki. Mike Gesicki dropped a goose egg in fantasy. So, I don't know. The Dolphins need to fix some things up. Both teams need to fix some things up. They'll be. I think both teams have a legitimate shot to be contenders in a couple years. But right now, I don't think either have a legitimate shot at maybe a wild card spot. But that's about it. Next, Broncos versus Giants. I'll let Akash do this one
All
for
right,
his team.
Teddy Bridgewater. That's all I'm gonna say. That man, I didn't have. I said this. I said I don't know what I feel about this. I know that he's a. I think the best way to describe him is simple. There's nothing like he had a really nice pass to Albert Ogwebmanan, the backup tight end, to get a touchdown early in the game. But in general, it was just very like well played. No interceptions. I think he only missed like on 3 or 4 passes in the first half. So and he was looking really good. Giants aren't a great team, obviously. Wasn't a test of what we are, but there's definitely something there. I think I'm actually like very happy for the future for this team for this year.
Once you see Teddy check down, play a good defense, you're gonna
The
reevaluate.
Giants
We'll
are a good
see.
defense.
The Giants are a good defense. Teddy checked down. I mean, I'm very disappointed that Jerry Judy's out for I think it's now 6 to 8 or 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah,
But
he was good.
Yeah, he's
Six
on IR.
he
receptions,
was playing
72
really
yards.
good.
He's
Yeah,
playing
I
well,
hope
man.
then Cortland Sutton can step back into the role he had on the offense a couple years ago, where he was the wide receiver one and he was balling out. So hopefully he can get back to that. I like Cortland Sutton a lot.
Next,
He's a baller, or KJ Hamler, something like that.
next we'll get into the take that both of you called me crazy for. And also that what's it called? This one surprised a lot of people, but I chose the Saints against the Packers last week. I said they'd
But yeah,
play for New Orleans. You guys called me crazy. You said passion isn't enough just to win a game. Guess what? Aaron Rodgers didn't have passion. The Saints did have passion, and the Saints demolished them, 38 to
you know
3.
what? Yeah, I'll give you that one. There
I'll take
was
that.
as yeah, it started off as in our heads it was balanced, maybe a little bit towards the Saints, and then it was just wow, it just kept going in opposite directions, and that was it. There was nothing there. The Packers just could not function.
Yeah, the Packers did not look like the number one offense we saw from last year. Aaron Rodgers looked depressed. I'm gonna be honest. I, the Saints. I mean, I don't even want to take anything away from the Saints. The Saints played great. Lattimore played well against Adams. He played really well. He got a contract for it, 5 years, 96 million. It's big.
Yeah, that's good money for him.
Lattimore's good. Cameron Jordan played. I'm pretty sure Cameron Jordan played good. I didn't really pay attention much to that. I
He was
zoned out of
alright.
that game after it was like 14 to like 0 or whatever. But either way, Jameis 5 touchdowns. It's great, I guess. I'm hoping Marquez Callaway has a better week next week when he's not shadowed by Jair Alexander. That was unfortunate. His fantasy 1.4 points, not very good.
2.5.
Yeah, but I'm hoping next week. I think they're playing the Panthers. He'll be able to have a better week. But yeah, I think that's about it for that one. Unless you guys have some more comments about the Packers or Saints. Nothing.
Nope.
All right.
Yeah,
Bears Rams. Roble, you
nothing
want to
much
take this
there.
one?
Yeah, I'll take this one. Really good performance from the Rams. Very disappointed from the Bears. It's just I don't know, just nothing's coming together for them. I think Fields isn't the starter yet. Offense just
Start
isn't really
him.
functional. Play calling was abysmal. They tried way too many
Matt
trick
Nagy
plays.
needs to go, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously. Rams look really good though. Okay, I'm
hmm
curious to see. I want to see them play like a really good team. That's when I can evaluate how good they actually are. But like they have two of the best skill position players on their defense.
Aaron Donald.
Their
I think the
offense,
top two defensive players in the league, in my
yeah,
opinion.
probably
hmm
yeah. Just like
Oh,
they
I,
have everything.
yeah.
I like
Yeah.
to take a huge stride.
I have
hmm
two main takeaways from this game. One, it makes the Rams super scary, and one's a fantasy take. I'll start with the fantasy take. David Montgomery is an RB1. He against a stingy Rams defense, and even being out for almost half a quarter, he was able to put up, I think it was 18 points. He looked solid, and I think he'll be solid going into the future. I think the Bears are playing um, Cincy this
They're playing
week.
the
Cincy, yeah, I think they're playing the Bengals. I think David Montgomery is going to be great this week.
Bengals for the
Again,
playoffs. Not going to be good.
and then my second takeaway. I saw this on TikTok. I don't know where I saw it, but the way Jalen Ramsey, they used Jalen Ramsey in a new way. They played him in a linebacker type of role, so he's more involved in the game. He had his career high in tackles for loss, career high in tackles. This is scary for most teams.
Yeah.
Jalen Ramsey is very good at not only coverage but tackling, being aggressive, and he's a very good leader. If you let him get going like this, he can take over games just like Aaron Donald does. And this Rams team is scary. I'm telling you. There are 3 teams right now in the NFC West that are all legitimate contenders. I think the
hmm
Seahawks, the Cardinals, and the Rams show that they can be legitimate contenders for the Super Bowl this year and challenge the Bucks for the NFC crown. 100%. Last but not least, the Raiders versus the Ravens.
Oh, this was a game, man.
I,
Messed up my sleep schedule, but it was a really good game.
yeah, 100%. You can take this one to start, Akash.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we're not going to talk about fantasy or anything here because I have wholeheartedly been devastated by Mark Andrews and his lack of. Don't stop laughing, man. It
AMW,
hurt.
baby. Let's go.
But yeah, um, Lamar Jackson was not. He played well. I think he was almost a little bit too. I guess the best way to say is like video game esque in this game. There's too many plays where you're just
Trying to be
playing too much hero
superhero.
ball.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Play
he's just
design too was
running around.
He just doesn't have weapons. Like,
Mhm.
once again, I'm gonna plug our
I wish Bate.
TikTok. Go
I
check.
wish Bateman was better.
Yeah, that he's not injured. He's gonna be back
Yeah,
6 weeks. I think that's gonna be huge. But I'm gonna plug our TikTok real quick. At SOB_podcast on TikTok. We post there
it's the same on Instagram.
same
Go
on
check us
Instagram
out.
too. We post on TikTok every day. If you want to win your fantasy leagues, follow
Go
that
check that
TikTok.
out.
I promise you, we don't miss. We don't miss. And
It's
then
quality content right there.
what I'm
Simple.
gonna, like I said on the TikTok, Lamar needs help, bro. Like, week 1, Sammy Watkins, 3 receptions, 86 yards. Okay, sure, that's
Where was he?
great. Where is everybody else? Mark Andrews, you
Yeah.
gotta step up. You're the best receiver on that team. You gotta step up. Bateman, sure, but that's 6 to 8 weeks. We gotta wait for that. Like, Lamar can't do everything himself. And the
Yeah.
rate that the AFC North is getting better, the Ravens could easily finish at the bottom of that division based off of what we saw. They made too many careless mistakes. They don't look like Lamar's running around like Akash said, like it's a video game. He legitimately has no one to pass to. No one is
Yeah.
open. Like, there's nothing he can do. They should have tried to get Galladay. That's the only thing I can think of that could have made their team better than what it looked like on Monday.
Yeah, they didn't really make any real improvements over the offseason when they lost to the Bills in the playoffs. There's really no improvements. They
Like, they
kept the same
signed Sammy
coaching.
Watkins and they
Yeah,
and they re-signed Marlon Humphrey. Like, great, Marlon Humphrey's a top 5 corner.
yeah,
Like, that's good and everything. Like, Marlon Humphrey looked great yesterday, but like, other than that, like, what really was
nothing,
there? Like, the
nothing.
only
I mean,
positives you could say from that game is Lamar took strides as a passer. The balls he did throw looked better than they did last year.
Patrick Queen.
Tyson
And
Williams was good.
Patrick Queen took steps, and Marlon Humphrey's a great corner. And those are three
Amen.
things we knew last year. Those aren't things
Yeah.
that we like that are new. They haven't developed as a team, which I think isn't good. If you're a Ravens fan, I don't think you should be. I think you should be like worried.
A little
I'm
worried.
not gonna lie. I mean, obviously it's week 1. You don't want to overreact, but based off of that game, it just didn't look great. I'm gonna be real.
It didn't. It
Yeah, I'm
didn't.
with you on that.
And now let's talk about the
Also,
Raiders.
let's touch on
Oh,
Darren Waller.
Darren. Well, I was
Talk
about to
about
say
Darren
that.
Waller.
Go 36, right? Fantasy points?
26.
26?
It was 26.5. Something like that.
Yeah.
And he could have had way more too if Derek Carr was a little more accurate with his throws.
Yeah,
He had
100%.
19 targets, which is
Insane.
absurd. And if you watch the presser, I think what's his name? The coach. What's their coach's name?
John Gruden.
Gruden. Yeah, said he's the best player that he's coached.
Bro,
Darren Waller.
no.
He's
One thing that made me mad,
That was a
I,
bold take.
I forget what.
yeah,
First off, he coached that Bucs Super Bowl team. He's not better than like Warren Sapp and stuff. Like, that's
yeah, I
that's
was gonna
BS.
say
Okay.
like it's just
Next,
like hyping up your
his
boy out.
comparison for Darren Waller is the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever heard in my entire life. I think he said it was like Jerry Rice speed, and then who was it? Bro, I think it was like Randy Moss catching or something. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my entire. Like, Darren Waller is good, okay? He is a top 3 tight end in the NFL, but he is not Jerry Rice or Randy Moss in any sense, man.
Yeah. Not even close. Dude, his blocking's really good too.
It's
Like he
underrated. It's underrated for sure.
played
But
almost all the snaps.
played
Like,
all the
dude,
snaps.
Yeah.
Only reason the Raiders were even able to win that game.
Was
One
because
person I'd like to touch on as well. 2 people, actually. First off,
Bryan
Bryan Edwards. Looked
Yeah.
great. I think after
he showed up
this
a little bit
week,
more at the end of the game. Though.
yeah, after this week against the Steelers, when he has a bad game, buy low on him. I said this on the TikTok. Once again, go to the TikTok, guys. After this week, buy low on Bryan Edwards. He's going to be big time for the rest of the season. Other than Darren Waller, he's the only real consistent target on that team. Next, Max Crosby is going to be potentially elite. He's going to be like the Ted Hendrickson of last year. He's going to be great. He's gonna be great. Max Crosby showed he can pass rush very well. I think Yannick Ngakwe, or however he pronounce his name, is gonna be a great addition on the other side. Those two are gonna wreak havoc on the AFC West. Although I do think the Raiders will still finish at the bottom of that division, unfortunately. But that division
Uh,
is still very, very good. I mean,
I say
Chargers, Chiefs,
it's up there with the
Broncos.
AFC North as the best division in the AFC.
Yeah, 100%.
Me and Akash also touched on this. Darren Waller is going to finish tight end 2, guaranteed
And
in
I
Hundred
think, and
percent,
we both think he can
100%,
finish the tight end one.
Yeah,
100.
potential
He's so
tight
good,
end.
and getting like what it was 18 targets. Obviously, that's not going to
19.
happen every week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not going to happen on a weekly basis, but like
He
still,
could see over 15 targets a week. I think that's very
he's
reasonable.
so good. Yeah,
Yeah.
their
Okay,
whole
I
offense.
think that's a wrap on our reactions for
yeah,
week
that's about
one.
it.
I think next we're going to get into the part that most of you are probably waiting for. Most of you follow us for our fantasy stuff. We're going to start with our starts and sits for week number 2. We're going to go through every game, give you a couple starts, couple sits for each game. Make sure you. Obviously, we may be wrong on some takes. Last week, we were 9 for 11. That's all I'm going to say. We were 9 for 11. Nine boomed. 2 of them did average. So even if they did average, we can count that as a win. We won't. But
Who was
9
the two
for.
out?
Yeah,
Huh?
James Robinson? Who was the two out?
I'm counting Gus Edwards because he got injured, unfortunately.
hmm but I mean,
And
you could
then
say Tyson Williams just kind of slides in as.
I think other than and then there
James
was one
Robinson?
more we missed on. Oh, Mike Evans. Mike Evans. Because
Yeah,
What,
I gave all 3 Bucks receivers. So
did we
I'll
say
count.
start James Robinson?
No, no, we didn't.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, that was 9 for 11, which I think is solid. 9 for 11 once again. That was on our TikTok parts 1 and 2. Part 1 of the must starts for week number 2 are up on the TikTok right now. It'll be linked in the description. Go watch that. All right, we'll start with Giants and Washington, the game for tomorrow, or I think this will be posted Thursday morning. So the game for tonight, Giants Washington. I'll start with the start, a must start. Antonio Gibson, he should be starting no matter what on any
yeah,
team. I think Terry McLaurin is also a start, but I'd say this week he's a low end wide receiver too, just because James Bradbury will be shadowing him. But I like those two this week.
I'll
You
take
guys,
Logan
yeah.
also.
Logan
Oh, you
Tom.
stole
Oh
mine.
yeah, I like that.
You stole mine.
Noah Fant had a good week last week against the Giants, so I could see Logan Thomas also doing that as well.
Yeah.
I'll take the Giants. I am not starting Saquon Barkley this
Mm-hmm.
week. Sit Barkley. He's not gonna have a great game. Volume's not gonna be there. He's also
Buy
coming back
low
from
on him after
injury.
this week. He's going up
Yeah,
20 to 40% in usage this week, according to the trainer. So that means next week he's going to be at about 90% usage. He will be back to those RB1 numbers very, very soon. So buy low after this bad week against a very good Redskins front seven, and you're going to be set for your fantasy season.
yeah, and also don't buy into the Sterling Shepard hype or whatever it was last week. I think he's gonna have a down week. Sit him and also sit
Mm-mm.
Galladay.
No, do not sit
Nah,
Shepard.
that was my start of the week was
Don't
Sterling Shepard.
yeah, don't sit
Yeah,
Shepard. He's the wide receiver one on that team. Daniel
yeah,
Jones loves him.
100%.
The targets are there. The receptions are there. Daniel
hmm
Jones does not have the talent to throw the ball deep. We know that the routes that will be thrown are the underneath and mid routes. Those routes will be run by Sterling Shepard, not Kenny Galladay. Shepard will see the majority of the receiving
hmm
work on that team this year. If you're able to get him on your waiver wire, get him. That's all I'm going
Yeah,
to say. And
that's
start him
basically
this
what I
week.
was gonna say.
Start
That's
him
what I
this
was
week
gonna
on my DraftKings for Thursday Night Football. I have Sterling Shepard. He's gonna be a demon, boys. Get him. I think that's
say.
about it. Obviously, sit Daniel Jones. Don't start Daniel Jones
Please
against
don't
the
start Daniel
Redskins
Jones.
team and the football
Please
team.
don't start Daniel Jones.
Don't start Daniel Jones. Don't start Taylor Heineke. I think those are kids. Don't do that. It's not in the best interest of anybody. All right, we'll go Raiders Steelers next. I think you should be sitting everyone not named Darren Waller on the Raiders this week.
I'm
And
with that.
then and also this week don't expect the biggest amount from Darren Waller. This isn't the Ravens. They're gonna game plan for Darren Waller. that team is going to clamp down on Darren Waller. I think Darren Waller will still have over 15 points, but don't expect anything over 25 this week. Steelers will clamp him up this week for what we usually think. Shoot. Yeah. You guys can take the
Um,
Steelers.
Steelers, I would say if you're gonna start any of the Steelers wide receivers, I'd say Deontay, but I'd stay clear of Juju and Claypool again. But my start for this week would be Najee Harris. I think he's gonna get the usage.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting Juju, actually. I'll
Is that
take
just
John.
because you have him at flex?
Possibly. But I'll take he's not a bad option.
I
Marquise
mean, yeah.
Brown had
I
what?
think anyone on the rate. I mean, the
Marquise Brown
Steelers.
had 14 against the Raiders D last week.
And
Like,
Marquise Brown even good.
I mean, Marquise Brown was the wide receiver one for them last week.
Yeah. I'd say
okay,
other
like,
than Deontay, you don't start
like
a Steelers.
Watkins. Watkins
Watkins
had
had
11
11,
or
but
something.
that's because he had lots of yards. He
Juju
had big
doesn't
plays.
run deep routes, bro. He literally
Yeah.
runs slant routes. He's literally Slant Boy Junior. He's TikTok slash Slant Boy. That's what he is.
He'll
Yeah.
have a good game, though. I can't.
I don't know. He won't be. I don't
He'll
mind
have
that
an
big
average
game.
game. I could see
I'll
like
say 13,
13.
14
Yeah, something like
points.
that. I think that's about it for that game. 49ers Eagles.
I'd
To
say
be
my
honest, you want to
start
go?
for this
You
week
can
is
go.
starts for this week. I'd say don't overreact on Ayuk's whatever the hell
Don't
happened
start
last
Ayuk.
week.
Don't start Ayuk.
Mess. Start Ayuk, and then Debo Samuel's a flex is a good play. But I guess that's a little bit cheap.
I'm gonna have to disagree. I think start Debo with confidence. I don't like Ayuk, especially what Shanahan said today. Me and Roble were talking about this earlier. Just like we were talking about this like in the morning when this news dropped about Shanahan saying that Ayuk needs to put in more work to be above the other receivers on the depth chart. That's just stupid. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think at this point, other than Debo, I think it's going to turn into just how their backfield is. It's literally going to be a wide receiver carousel. I don't like it. I'm steering clear of basically anyone not named Kittle on that team, but I would still start Kittle. I would also, personally, I'm starting Debo as well. And then if you do not have another flex option, start Elijah Mitchell. But do not be surprised if he ends up dudding out and getting you like 7 points. So yeah,
Yep.
and then I think one of you guys can take Eagles here.
Okay, I'll take the Eagles. I'm gonna start Jalen Hurts. I think he can possibly have a good week. Jared Goff had a pretty decent week against the Niners, although most of it came in garbage time. I'm starting Devontae Smith. I think wide receiver. I think I'll have a pretty decent week.
Yeah,
And then, although I might get some hate for this, I'm starting Miles Sanders. I think he will have a pretty good week.
Mm-hmm. We
But
saw really good RB production from Swift and Williams last week. Like almost 50 points combined from those two running
yeah,
backs.
the Niners' rush defense was garbage
Just
last.
it's
yeah.
not
In the
there.
second
They
half,
didn't
when they
have
stopped trying
Kinlaw.
because they were up 3 scores.
No, it's not even that.
It is
Like, they
that.
don't fall
It is
apart.
that.
No,
In the first
the
half,
third
look at the
quarter,
production. It wasn't there.
third quarter, Swift and Williams. That's when they started to rush
To pull it
better, and
back, yeah.
Yeah, they started
that's when they
rushing better
started.
because the Niners started playing back because they're up 3 scores.
Even then, you shouldn't be doing that. Why would
That's
you
how
take?
you play football. If you're up a lot of scores, your defense starts playing back. You don't play up because they need to score quickly.
Yeah, and they almost lost the game because of that.
Yeah, obviously, once it was like a 2 score game, they need to come back down. But at the start of the third quarter, they should be playing back. They're up 3 scores. Why would they be playing stack? Why would they stack 6-7 in the box? Cover 9. Why wouldn't you be covering 9?
Fair. I
Exactly.
think Miles Sanders is in a bad start. I think he can get you 14, 15 this week.
He's
So
going
yeah.
below 10 this week. Don't start him.
Also,
Don't do it. I'm telling you.
choose
Akash is
choose
going to
wisely.
lose in the league this week because he traded for Miles Sanders. That's all I'm going to say. And also start Dallas Goddard. Obviously, T.J. Hawkinson had a good game. I think Dallas
Yeah.
Goddard, obviously, it doesn't have the talent level of Hawkinson, but he'll produce at some uh, decency.
Yeah.
All right, next game, Texans Browns. Texans
We
surprised us
can.
last week, but there's a
Mhm.
lot of starts on the Browns side this week. I'll start with the Browns, I guess. Odell out again, so start Landry at a flex position. Start Chubb. Start Kareem Hunt. I think Mayfield is also an option to start this week. And one of you guys can take the Texans.
Yeah, I agree with you on the Browns thing. There's not much else. I mean, Texans, the only start I'd be doing is if you really need a flex play, maybe Brandon Cooks.
I
Uh,
think Cooks is a wide receiver too.
I don't know, maybe, yeah. But
I think
that's about it from the Texans standpoint, to be honest. Not much going on there.
Yeah, I one person I'd like to add on Pharaoh Brown, the Texans tight end last week had a good week. I don't add him yet, but wait for after this week. If he puts up over 10 points again, he could be a solid stash. If you're streaming tight ends and you don't have a solid starting tight end, this guy could be pretty good for you when he has good matchups. I'm not gonna lie. He looked good last week. He made some good catches. Tyrod Taylor looked for him as a safety blanket. So yeah.
I'm
Um
with that.
Next we got Broncos Jags. Akash, I'll let you
All
take the
right.
Broncos.
So for the Broncos, I'd say Cortland Sutton is my main start. I'd say Cortland Sutton. The running back position is so iffy, man. Because I want them to just make a decision. I like Javonte Williams a lot. I think he's like uber talented. Like he can play. But again, Melvin Gordon got a lot of carries last game. He had that big 70-yard rush. That was the chunk of our running. But I think Noah Fant's a start because Teddy Bridgewater is a check down guy, and so the tight ends are going to do well in general. And then Cortland Sutton. Uh, yeah, and then as a little sleeper, maybe a stash play is KJ Hamler. He's
He dropped a
crazy
big
expl
touchdown last week. He would have had a lot of
Yeah,
points.
he's crazy explosive. He's a quick guy. He might move into that wide receiver two role with Jerry Jeudy out of the offense.
And
Maybe Tim Patrick will take that.
Noah Fant.
Yeah, no fan is a big one. Yeah,
Uh,
uh, take the
the
Jags.
Jag.
yeah.
From
Not
what I
much
saw
here.
last week, is there any starts? I'll
Nah,
start
Against
with
that
this.
stingy Denver team, I guess James Robinson flex
but
play,
yeah,
low end flex play, but I
I'm not
don't know,
starting
bro.
Chenal. I'm not starting
I'm not
Chart.
starting Chanel. Yeah,
There's
It's too
I don't.
iffy.
there's nothing
I'm
there,
with
man.
the. There's nothing there. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, next
Yeah.
we'll go. I think we go Saints Panthers next. I'm realistically Panthers. I'm starting CMC. I
So,
obviously DJ Moore is probably gonna end up being most of your guys' wide receiver twos, or flexes. I don't really like him this week against the Saints, but at the end of the day, he's gonna have 10, 11, 12 points. Don't expect a boom week this week against the Saints defense. Robbie Anderson, same thing. You can expect 10 points, something like that. Don't expect a boom week against the Saints. And yeah, other than that,
Hit
CMC.
Robbie Anderson.
Yeah, get again TikTok guys. Buy low candidate, Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore.
mhm.
After this week, go try to find them. Try to
Yeah,
get them for cheap. You can. Like this week, Melvin Gordon might boom again against the Jaguars. If you have Melvin Gordon and you're able to trade Melvin Gordon straight up for Robbie Anderson, that's the biggest W trade in history. Like, do that instantly.
yeah,
Javonte Williams is going to eventually take that role, and we know that. Other than that big run that Melvin Gordon had last week, he averaged 3.2 yards per carry. That is abysmal. He's not going to have that starting job for long, and once he loses it, he's going to be irrelevant. So sell high on him while you can. I think you could sell high on him now, but if you want, you could take the risk, wait for after this week against the Jags.
hmm
One of you guys can take the Saints.
I'll take the Saints here. So I mean, obvious start is Alvin Kamara. I'd say your Marquez Callaway, maybe a flex if you have belief in his production. I'd say someone to look out for.
Jawan Johnson.
Jameis and Joan John is going to get there. Joan Johnson, Jameis Winston looked for him. He looks good. So yeah, that's my little spiel on the Saints.
100%. I think Roble, you can start on the next one. Rams versus Colts. You can take the Rams.
Yeah, I'll take the Rams here. I'm starting Woods, Cup, and Daryl Henderson, and potentially Higby if you're streaming tight ends.
Mm.
But yeah, that's it.
I think one thing I'll add about Higby, Akash, you can take the Colts after this.
Mm.
Higby, I don't. I think if he drops over 10 points again this week, I think you could solidify him as a starter instead of just streaming. I think a lot of these weapons on the Rams are going up in value with Stafford, and I like Higby. He looked great. The yards after catch are there. Matthew Stafford liked looking to him, liked throwing to him. So yeah, I think if we see another good week, especially against a good Colts defense, I think that we really can see Tyler Higby emerge into a actual starter, straight up starter, no matter the
Yeah,
matchup.
elaborate on my point real quick. Start both Rams receivers with confidence, especially what the Seahawks did to them last week
Mm-hmm.
against the Colts. So I'm no concerns with Woods and Cup. I think both of them will have pretty good weeks.
Yeah.
And then for the Colts, I'd say obvious start is Jonathan Taylor. He's good. He can play. I'd say the only other person is Zach Pascal. We talked about him earlier. He's
I
getting
think
the number one
Hines.
role.
I think Hines
Huh?
is a flex option. Hines is a
Fine,
flex
maybe, yeah.
option.
Yeah. But I guess the only person I'd be worried about if you're rostering him is Marlon Mack. Obviously, no carries last week, so I don't
Yeah,
know. I
don't
don't think
roster.
he's
He
highly
shouldn't even be
rostered.
on your team right now.
Yeah, he's not. I don't doubt he's highly rostered, but if he is, get him gone. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
drop him off your team. Useless. All right. Bills Dolphins. Bills. I'm starting. Yeah, I'll start Josh Allen. I'm starting Devin Singletary. I'm starting Diggs, and I'm starting Gabriel Davis. I'd say Cole Beasley is also flex. Cole Beasley and Gabriel Davis are flex options. I like them. And then yeah, I think those are all good. And then which one of you want to take the Dolphins?
Uh, I'll take the Dolphins. A lot of sits this week, in my opinion. They had
Yeah,
a bad game last time they played each other. I'm sitting Tua, sitting Gasecki, sitting Gaskin, sitting Waddle, I'm sitting Parker. I'm not starting anybody.
I'm
I'm
starting
with that.
Fuller.
Is he back? No, but it's a
Mhm.
4 game suspension. No?
No, it's
Oh,
not.
he's
It's a
back.
1 game suspension
Oh,
for
okay.
this year.
Uh,
Yeah, I'm starting Fuller.
maybe,
I'll
maybe. Yeah.
flex play.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like Fuller as a flex play. All right. Patriots Jets. I'll take the Patriots just because my guy's on here. Damian Harris must start. Literally, the biggest. Play this guy with absolute confidence. The most confidence you've ever started anyone with. Start him. 20 points this week. 100%. Literal. He's just gonna violate the Jets in every way,
His
shape, and form.
projections are pretty low. It's like 12.5.
Like that's
It's
so
12 and a
low.
half.
He should be projected minimum 15. Like he had 23 carries for 100 yards last week against the Dolphins. He's gonna violate the Jets on so many levels. Like Damien Harris start, Jacoby Myers start, Mac Jones if you don't have an elite QB could be a potential start. We said Sam Darnold last week. I think Mac Jones is the Sam Darnold of this week. Start Mac Jones. So yeah, James White also flex play. Who wants to take the Jets?
I'll take the Jets. There's nothing much there. You've got Zach Wilson if you're a psycho, and then Corey Davis is a flex play.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah,
Nothing
Corey
much
Davis is really the only starter on that. The only
there.
person that should be starting on your fans.
Yeah,
Should be the only person starting on your team. Bengals versus Bears.
I'll
Um,
take this one first.
all right.
I'll take I'll take the Bears. Um, two starts for me,
Yeah.
potentially three. I'm taking Allen Robinson, look for him to have a bounce back week, and then Montgomery, and then potentially Darnell Mooney. I think he can have
I
a
like
pretty
that.
good game.
I like that.
yeah. I'm with that. I'm with that. Yeah, and then I'll take the Bengals for this one as well. Mixon's a start, and then I'd say Burrow. If you need a quarterback, he's showing out, so I'd take him. And then I'd say of the three receivers, I'd say
Jamar
the
and
most con.
Higgins.
Huh?
You
Yeah,
go. You go. You go.
that was what I was gonna say too. Jamar, and, Chase, and D Higgins are my two. I'm more confident in those two than I am in Tyler Boyd. But realistically, they're all somewhat solid flex plays if you need a receiver.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%. Next we have Falcons Buccaneers.
I can take the Falcons here.
All right, go
Uh,
ahead.
uh, maybe if I'll start as Calvin Ridley. Um,
He's gonna
and you got a couple flex. Yeah,
violate their secondary just like the Cowboys did.
and then you got a couple flex options. Russell Gage is one. And then really Mike Davis, but
Sit
I
him.
don't know. Yeah, I'm not feeling Mike Davis, but if you're reaching on somebody, reach on Mike Davis. Yeah,
I'll just
that's
add
my
on to
top.
that real quick. If you have Mike Davis right now and you have him as an RB too, I think he's gonna be decent. He's gonna be serviceable in most weeks. But after what we saw what the Buccaneers did to Zeke last week, do not he if he goes for like 3 points, don't be surprised. I mean, he won't be able. The Falcons are gonna probably go over 50 pass attempts. They won't be able to run the ball this week, especially with how bad their O line played against the Eagles. It's not gonna happen.
Okay,
Irola, you can go.
Bucks. I'll take the Bucks here.
Yeah,
I'm starting a lot of people. I'm
yeah.
starting Tom Brady. I'm starting Mike Evans, bounce back week. Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, flex play. And then they said Ronald Jones has the lead back role this week.
Gronk.
Potentially flex play if you are in dire need of a running back.
So no Gronk.
Gronk,
No.
forgot about Gronk. I feel one of those receivers or tight ends is gonna have a bad game. I just feel like it.
Yeah,
I don't
one of
know.
them will. But realistically, 4 out of the 5. I mean, no, 3 out of the 4 will go crazy on most weeks. So yeah, I think that's a good one. Next, we have another big fantasy implication game: Vikings Cardinals. I'll take the Vikings. Dalvin Cook, obviously, he must be starting on your team. Justin Jefferson starting on your team. Adam Thielen should be starting on your team. After that, Tyler Conklin could be if you're in a 14-man league, could be a tight end play. Um, Realistically, other than that, I don't really know. Kirk Cousins maybe, but I'd probably sit him. I'm not really feeling him.
Yeah,
Um,
Hmm.
and then yeah, one of you guys can take the Cardinals.
I'll
I
take.
can take the Cardinals. You want to roll?
Go ahead.
All right, so I'd say Kyler Murray, obvious start. DeAndre Hopkins, obvious start. Chase Edmonds, interesting call. I don't know. He's a flex play. I'd say he's the same. I think he's a flex play. I think other than that, Christian Kirk is a sit for me, and then that's about it.
A sit?
Yeah,
Yeah, I would not be starting Christian Kirk unless you really need a flex play.
Mm. I'd start him at flex with confidence this week, at least against the
like,
Vikings. Yeah,
I don't think the Vikings are going to slip up like they did last week.
they
I think
got
that's all.
violated on those go routes. I'm not even gonna lie. So
um, check out our TikTok. Post something about Chase Edmonds. I'm not crazy high on him, although he had a pretty decent game. Two chunk plays that he had came at the end of the second quarter and one in garbage time, which boosted his stats to look like he actually had a really good game when it was actually really mediocre. James Conner paced with him in carries. I'm not too high on him, so in the future, just to in the future, I don't think he's gonna have that big of a role in the Cardinals' offense, but he's not a bad option.
yep, 100%. Next we have the oh, sorry, my bad. The Titans versus the Seahawks. Big fantasy implications again.
I'll take the Titans on this one.
All right.
Uh, Ryan Tannehill, I'd say, is a start still. Shaky week last week, but I think he's got the weapons. Brown and I think those three, the big three they have now, Derrick Henry, AJ Brown, Julio Jones, are all still starts. Other than that, I don't think there's much there in that Tennessee offense that you're gonna want to mess with, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll take the Seahawks
Yep.
here. A lot of starts in my opinion. I'm starting Russell Wilson with confidence. DK Metcalf with confidence. Chris Carson, his projections are very high this week. I'm looking for him to have a big game. Also, Tyler Lockett, I'm also starting. And I'm also going to start Gerald Everett. Touchdown and a few receptions last week. I think he's a pretty good tight end play. I think he split snaps with the with the backup tight end. I forget his name, but Gerald Everett's not a bad play this week, especially
Yeah.
with the Giants defense.
Was it Luke Wilson? Maybe I don't know.
Something like
Backup.
that.
Yeah. Or Hollister. I don't even remember who they have, but yeah, they've had some. They've had tight end in and out going. We can go to what's the next game will be. Let me take a quick peek.
Next
Um,
game would be Cowboys versus Chargers. Lots of big fantasy implications again. I'll take the Cowboys. I don't expect another. I don't think either CD or Amari Cooper will go 30 points this week, but I do see both of them still getting about 18, 20 each. And then I also see Zeke having a bounce back week. I see about 80 yards, a touchdown, maybe 3, 4 receptions. I think Dak is obviously a must start, elite QB. And yeah, I think that's about it for the Cowboys. I think their tight ends, Dalton Schultz, can be a streamed tight end this week. Logan Thomas did get 3 targets, 3 receptions, 30 yards, and a touchdown last week. So I can see Dalton Schultz as a start if you do need a tight end. Which one
So
do you want to take? Chargers. Yeah.
I'll take the Chargers here. I think Eckler. I mean, okay, let's start. Herbert's a must start this week. He's gonna torch the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
Eckler's a must start also. Mike Williams is a must start. Keenan Allen is a must start.
Check the TikTok for Mike Williams.
Yep, that's about it. But all four of those guys I mentioned are gonna have really good games. Especially, I
mhm.
think Keenan Allen is gonna have at least 125 yards, close to 10 receptions and a TD.
I think Mike Williams will finish as a top 10 wide receiver this week. That is my hot take. I think Mike Williams will finish as a top 10 receiver. Mike
It's
Williams
not
is
a
going to
bad
be
pick.
great. He had 12 targets, 8 receptions, 82 yards, and a touchdown last week. That's just amazing. And I think if he stays healthy this year, he's going to be big time. Can't finish as a top 15 receiver. Next, we got Chiefs Ravens Sunday night game.
I can take the. I'll take the Chiefs here. It's the easy one. Obvious starts: Patrick Mahomes, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. Honestly, I don't know if there's anyone else that you even think about with that offense, but yeah, those four,
Yeah.
those should be cemented starts every week unless something crazy happens.
Mm-hmm. You
Take the
want to take the
Ravens.
Ravens?
Yeah, I'll take the Ravens. Tricky matchup, be honest with you. I think I'm only gonna start Lamar, but even that's a risky play.
I'd play it,
Marquise
yeah.
Marquise Brown and Watkins aren't the best
Yeah,
plays in this
I'd start
game.
Mark Andrews too.
Yeah, I'd say you
Oh
got to
yeah,
start Mark Andrews just because he
Backup
starting
has
tight
the
end
upside
option.
of a tight end one. So you got to
yeah,
Yeah.
take, you got to start Andrews and Lamar. Other than that, I think their backfield situation is too risky.
yeah.
Latavius could take that job.
Mm,
Tyson Williams could take the job. It's really difficult. I mean, you could take a gamble. It's the same thing that
mhm.
I have with the 49ers. Elijah
Yeah.
Mitchell. Lots of people have been asking us in the TikTok comment section whether they should start Elijah Mitchell or someone like a T Higgins or a Juju. I've responded to every comment saying Juju or Higgins because I
Mhm.
think it's just way safer. You never know with those type of backfields who's gonna take the majority of the carries. Whoever scores that first touchdown, whoever breaks that first 20-yard run, is gonna take most of the carries for that game. And if you don't have that guy starting, you're gonna be screwed for the week. I think you should play for the safer option, but you could always gamble for that boom potential in Elijah Mitchell or Tyson Williams. Yeah, I
Yep.
think
All
that's
right.
about it for that game. Lions Packers. I think there's a lot of starts in this game. A lot of starts. I'll go with the Packers. Aaron Jones start. I think Devonte Adams start. Aaron Rodgers start. Marquez Valdez Scantling start. Tanyan, low end tight end one start. I think this game could get to a point where it's such a blowout that AJ Dillon gets reps. I think in deeper 14-man leagues, AJ Dillon is a low end flex play. And yeah, I think that's about it for the Packers.
I'll take the Lions. I'm starting two people, Hawk and Swift. That's about it.
Yeah,
I think they're
Hawkins or
gonna.
Swift. I could see Jamal Williams maybe as well.
I don't think we'll.
Yeah.
Eh, I don't know about Williams because a lot
Jamal
of his
Williams
stuff.
was a more was more efficient and
Mhm.
more yards on the ground than Swift last week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he's not the number one back, and a lot
He
of those
is.
came off of.
He is. He's the number one rushing back on that team. Swift got the majority of his points off of the receiving game.
Look, if you look
I
on the
don't know.
depth chart, Swift's listed
Well,
number
yeah,
one.
because he gets
That's
Yeah.
the
not
most
arguable.
usage, obviously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but we'll see about that. That's about it. I think Lions are gonna
Hmm.
get blown out in this game.
Yeah.
So
And I think that uh that might actually be the wrap to this episode. You guys, I got anything else you want to add on?
No, I think I'll wrap this up real quick. I think that's a wrap on the episode. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure to go hit our socials. Those will be in the description, both the Instagram and the TikTok. Especially the TikTok, guys. Go to the TikTok. The new everything you need to know will be on that TikTok. You legitimately won't have to do your own research. Like everything is gonna be there for you,
Mhm.
up to date, on time. Go
Yeah.
there. Make sure to like and subscribe. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you enjoyed the podcast. These will be going up every week. We'll have at least one a week. Time to time, we'll have two a week. Depends on what news breaks, what happens. And yeah, I think that's a wrap to the episode, guys. Thank you for listening. And see you
Thank you for
guys in the
listening.
next episode.